Fertility nutrition is a huge topic and one that every second expert on social media seems to have an opinion about. But how do you know what is right for you? And where is that fine line between balancing what you need without getting absolutely obsessed with doing everything perfectly? Today on the podcast, I have two very special guests who are going to simplify everything that you need to know about fertility, nutrition, and supplementation as you're trying to conceive.
Welcome to your journey to fertility. This is the podcast that blends science with spirit to give you all the tools you need as you navigate your fertility journey. I'm your host, Jennifer Edmonds, and for the last 15 years, I've been helping women on their journeys to motherhood and beyond. I believe that combining the latest scientific research along with the best energetic and mindset practices will help you to avoid putting your life on hold and bring you closer to your baby. Each week, you'll learn ways to support your fertility and trust your body so that you can stop stressing that you'll never have your baby and finally walk your path to motherhood. This is the Your Journey to Fertility podcast.
Welcome back to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. I have not one, but two very special guests along with me, and we are going to be speaking about everything that you need to know about fertility, nutrition, supplementation, egg quality, and all of the things. So I think the thing that made me really confused when I was in the depths of my own struggling to conceive journey and going through IVF was you just think that more is more, and the more you do, the better it will be. So when it comes to nutrition, I had to do everything perfectly. I had read all the books. I had decided that every egg quality supplement under the sun was what I needed, and it just left me in a place of complete overwhelm. And when I did everything perfectly and things didn't work, I was left in a place of total loss. And, where do you go from there? So we are going to break it down today. What is it that you actually need to know about fertility nutrition? What is it that you should ignore? And how can you best support yourself when you are trying to conceive? So I have Stefanie Valakas with us today, who is an accredited dietitian, nutritionist, and founder of the Dietologist, which is Australia's trusted authority in fertility nutrition. I also have Monique Cormack with us, who is an experienced clinical nutritionist specialising in fertility, IVF, and pregnancy. They are also the founders of Arxi, which delivers innovative and evidence-based supplements that are designed to support preconception health. Their aim is to positively impact the lives of those who are trying to conceive or navigating fertility challenges. So, welcome. Thanks so much for being here with me today and coming onto the podcast. Can we start by learning a little bit more about you and what is the work that you do and why did you come to doing this work? Steph, do you want to start?
Yeah, thanks so much for having us, Jen. We're so excited to be here. Yes, so I kind of fell into fertility nutrition a bit backwards, which was I was actually a children's dietitian. And I was seeing lots of kids, but quickly you realise when you're seeing kids, you're actually seeing parents, not children. And I was starting to notice there was a lot going on for kids in terms of nutrition and health challenges that were really tracking back to what was going on in pregnancy and in preconception. And I had a real passion for preventative health and preventative nutrition. And I just thought by the time we're getting to toddlers and primary school age children, like maybe I could have helped sooner. And so I really dived into a lot of research, which was perfect timing. It was 2018 when all the big papers were coming out about this topic. And it really highlighted that the ultimate form of preventative health was to help hopeful parents improve their diet, their lifestyle, their environment, because that not only shaped the health of the pregnancy and their future child, but then there was more data about the fertility side as well. So I just didn't feel like anyone was really talking about that at that time. And I just pursued more training in that area and decided to start the Dietologist soon after. So that's a very abridged version. I guess along the way I had my own challenges. I, through my clients, found out I had endometriosis and had a laparoscopy to confirm that. And then almost 3 years ago now, I also froze my eggs proactively. I was at the time single and I was a genetic carrier and I had endo, and I just had so much anxiety about my own fertility, being exposed to so much with my work, that I wanted to, do something proactive. So I froze my eggs at 27, which everyone told me I was too crazy young, but no, I'm so glad that I did. So I guess I've had some personal experiences as well, but my original passion really started from that preventative viewpoint.
Amazing. Thank you. And Mon, can you tell us a little about you and the work you do?
Jen. I kind of did the opposite to Steph in that I went through it, I came to it definitely as sort of almost patient first. So I was studying to be a nutritionist and actually didn't think I was going to go into sort of fertility and antenatal care. Didn't really know what I was doing. And then quite sadly, I guess, had a really protracted journey to conception. And my specific background is that I had hypothalamic amenorrhea, which is really food and lifestyle driven. And so it was like this perfectly imperfect intersection of events where I was studying something and then being so deeply affected by it in terms of my reproductive health. And that kind of really shifted everything for me. And it's funny that Steph just said there were so many papers coming out in 2018 about the impact of nutrition and lifestyle on reproductive health, because that's actually the exact time that I was going through fertility treatments, failed fertility treatments, IVF, and also a really a high-risk pregnancy. And so, it just sort of, I fell in patient first and then realised that was going to be where I directed my studies. So, actually really soon after I graduated, that's how I met Steph. I actually applied to be a dietetic intern and so my clinical practice and what I do now really grew out of that.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. So I want to get straight into it. And I mentioned in the introduction how easy it is to fall into this spiral of I have to do everything perfectly. And it's weird, isn't it? Because when you do start going through fertility challenges and you learn that there are actually things that you can do to help yourself, you think, great, this is something that I can take control of again. I am totally in charge of this game and I'm going to do all the things. And I'm sure you relate to that and everyone listening can relate to that. And I think that it doesn't matter if you're a type A person. I think infertility will kind of make you one if you're not careful. So without doing everything perfectly, without cutting out gluten and dairy and sugar and caffeine and alcohol when perhaps not every thing on that list is going to affect you, what do we actually need to know about fertility nutrition and what do we need to avoid? Do you want to start, Steph?
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely love this topic because I always recite the motto to my clients, you don't have to be perfect to get pregnant. And if you come back and you tell me I'm doing 100% of everything that you said and I'm doing 100% of the time, I'm worried for you. I don't want that as an outcome. I always come back to the central premise. You don't have to be perfect to get pregnant. What you need to know and what you need to probably discard is probably in society we love a rule. We love a rule because a rule is very concrete. It's black and white. We don't have to think too hard. So gluten-free, it's a rule. I just don't eat gluten. It's easy. It's a rule. You can put it on your forehead. You can go to the cafe. You can work it out. But if you're more flexible, you have to exercise more judgment and it becomes more of a grey area. And we don't generally like that. But the truth is to eat well to support your fertility, it is grey. And we also have to know what are we focusing on. So if you come to me and we're just two healthy people and we want to get pregnant soon and we don't know what we're in for yet, but we just want to put our best foot forward, that's a sensible thing to do and I encourage it. And the way that we would approach that would be, okay, let's look at you as individuals and look at you together and see what's going on. So in terms of food, we would be thinking about, okay, what are the eggs being exposed to? What are the sperm being exposed to? And what's that uterine environment look like? And are you ovulating regularly? Do we have those 4 things, can I count? Those 4 things in play and how do we optimize each of those? So when we're talking about egg quality and sperm quality, they really are based on the same foundational principles of we want to protect them. And so with eggs, we have a longer lifespan. They've been with us since they were in our mum's tummies. And so we've got a lot of protecting to do there. So we're trying to increase dietary antioxidants to boost that level of antioxidants in the follicular fluid that surrounds that egg to protect it in the lead up to it being ovulated or retrieved if you're doing IVF, for example. So antioxidants are going to come from things like fruits, from vegetables, from extra virgin olive oil, from herbs and spices, from any kind of plant food. And also omega-3 fatty acids are also beneficial for the anti-inflammatory and blood flow boosting properties. And so if you think about that, for both sperm quality and egg quality, they are decently simple, healthy eating, general Mediterranean diet, however you want to label it, principles that everyone can kind of start with. And then, of course, you can kind of tweak from there. So, for example, in Monique's case, if we just use that as an example, she wasn't ovulating because she had hypothalamic amenorrhea. What do we need to do to reverse that? She needs to eat more food and exercise less and chill out a bit. It sounds very basic, but genuinely that's the trifecta of hypothalamic amenorrhea, right? So in her case, I would probably do something a bit different. I probably wouldn't tell her to just go and eat an abundance of fruits and vegetables. I'd probably tell her to eat a whole avocado for breakfast. It's very different because of the situation that you're coming into. But the general principles apply to almost everyone with some adjustments. In terms of the things that you want to avoid genuinely, that we have really like decent science for, either from general health or specifically fertility, is you want to avoid excess amounts of saturated fats. So these are the more pro-inflammatory types of fats. They seem to affect the quality of that follicular fluid where the egg is growing. It seems to affect the sperm as well. And we just know too much saturated fat's not good for us. Cardiovascular health, all sorts of other components, mental health even. So things like excess amounts of butter, fatty cuts of meat, bacon, processed meats, takeaways, deep fried foods, all the fun things in life. But you don't have to cut them out. It's just about minimizing. So you can be clever about, I am still going to have a buttered croissant on my Sunday morning. Thank you so much. But I'm not going to eat it every day for breakfast. Is a simple way that you can embrace, the principles of what is actually going to support your fertility without letting go of, there is no joy left in my life because of infertility and I'm trying to do everything by the book so that, like what you said in the intro, like you got to do everything right so that it can go right, but it may not. And so ultimately I always try and think when I'm working with people, is this going to help them anyway, just for their own health and well-being, even if these people never conceived? Am I still leaving them better than how I found them? And are those principles still going to serve them for a long period of time? And with a principle approach, you can do that. Once you get into the specifics, then it becomes more time course sensitive with things like supplements and very specific dietary interventions for certain situations. But that's like the very overview, bird's eye view of it. But we can certainly drill down into more of the details. Maybe Mon, you can.
Yeah,
definitely. Please, Mon.
It's funny that, you said that, actually that's something that I say to a lot of my clients in my clinic as well, is that everybody loves rule. And it's funny because of my background and how I fell into practicing, I guess in my mind, when I'm breaking stuff down for clients or when I'm on a podcast or when I'm trying to just do something educational, I really try and steer away from that rules-based approach, because actually having all those rules is what made me infertile in the first place. And it's so ironic that now I'm in this situation where people are coming to me with all these rules and I'm like, actually, I think this is what's going to cause you all the problems. And actually I see a lot of it. And so certainly in terms of what you need to know about fertility nutrition is, I think having that flexibility is really important, not only for our physical health, because it ends up being better that we're actually dietary diversity is one of the defining features of a fertility-friendly diet. And it's really hard to be diverse if you have too many rules. But also I think, and something I know, Jen, that you would feel really strongly as well, is that we don't know what's going to happen. We don't have a crystal ball when it comes to what's going to happen when we're trying to conceive. And so we have to think about the impact of the way we're adopting nutrition principles and our mental health. And so I think that mental resilience and that ability to sustain our fertility nutrition principles is important. So having that, more flexible approach, I think that is the real core of what I think people should know about fertility nutrition. And certainly, yes, if you want to break it down to the practical stuff, that high antioxidant Mediterranean style approach, lots of different plant foods are the things that you need to know. And I think, truly what you can probably disregard when it comes to fertility nutrition is if someone's coming at you with their weird Instagram ads or however else. Sorry, we always send each other the best Instagram ads when it comes to fertility. The bracelet that got me. Anyway. If somebody's coming at you with some advice, helpful advice about what you should do with your diet to conceive, and it starts off with a do not for about 10 sentences, that to me is a red flag. That's probably the kind of advice you can disregard, because I'm telling you, there ain't no paper in existence that has come to the conclusion that removing all of those things from your diet will assist you in conception. Yeah, Steph knows.
Yep, 100%. Yep. Yeah, pretty much gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free, soy-free. None of those things help unless you specifically have a very specific, we're talking general, right? So yes, if you're celiac, don't eat gluten. Duh. That's obvious. But I'm saying if you're doing it because it causes inflammation, there is no paper in the world that's going to prove that that is true unless you have a very specific disease state like celiac disease or like an allergy. It's actually anti-inflammatory. All those things have been actually shown to lean more anti-inflammatory. And I think we've become obsessed with whether a single item is good or bad or inflammatory or anti-inflammatory. I don't know. We've just become so dichotomous. Like I remember somebody DM'd me once. I was like, is almond milk anti-inflammatory or pro-inflammatory? I'm like, I can't answer that question because I don't know the rest of your diet. You could be eating KFC all day for all I know and you're having an almond milk latte. Well, the almond milk is probably the least of your worries, you know, like I don't care. But it's about context and we lack context, particularly on social media. We lack that context. And so we just become so binary again and we go black, white, black, white, black, white. We need a rule. And so you don't actually need a rule. You just need to find a way that you feel like, is my diet serving me for me, like from a self-care, general health and well-being viewpoint? And does it have a nice side effect of maybe also helping my fertility? Sweet. I think that's the sweet spot. I think the people that take it to this extreme of, you know, measuring how many flax seeds they're going to have at breakfast, like it's too far and it's too much additional mental load on top of the blood test, the appointments, the acupuncture, the this, the that, the exercise. It's too much. And we're nutrition professionals and we don't sweat it like that. So if we don't have to and we know what we know, then I don't think anyone out there should be doing that either.
Awesome advice. Thank you for sharing all of that. And just realistic advice as well, because it is so overwhelming and counting out the flax seeds. Like, I swear that was me.
I was going to say you picked a good one because like flax seeds be so tiny. I'm like, I could count almonds and there was a time in my life where I did methodically count my almonds. Anyway, but yeah, flax seeds, that's a new level of detail.
Mon, I want to ask you about the difference between supplementation and nutrition. I think there's that quote, something around along the lines of you can't out-supplement a bad diet. And so what is the point of supplementation during the trying to conceive process? And there's two parts to this question. Whenever I do a workshop with my students, and you've come in and run workshops for us on egg quality, they are always the most well-attended workshops because everyone wants to know how they can improve their egg quality. So what is everything that we need to know about egg quality and potentially sperm quality as well? And is supplementation the answer or is it a combination of nutrition as well?
Steph's nodding because she knows that I'm going to say it's definitely a combination approach. So I'm going to answer the part about what supplements do and then I'm going to answer the whole supplements versus diet thing. So with supplements, the way I always explain it is I think that there are three main roles that supplements play when it comes to trying to conceive. And this is, you know, general advice. So the first sort of area that we're trying to address with supplementation, which sometimes goes missing, which worries me, is that in Australia, where we're recording, there are actually public health recommendations around supplementing folate and iodine, right? So at a very basic level, people should be receiving instructions around supplementing those two micronutrients in the preconception period. Doesn't matter whether you're struggling to conceive or whether it's just getting started, that's what you have to do. The second way I look at supplementation is that, you know what, as we just talked about, like we do want to have some flexibility when it comes to our diet. We are going to have a croissant for breakfast some days. I am aware that croissants are not rich in micronutrients. And so that some days, if that might be, you know, that might be the flavour of the day, I'm having a chill day. So we can look at a preconception supplement regime in that respect as sort of like topping up where we might have gaps because we ain't going to be perfect every day. And actually we do have a reasonable amount of evidence to show that people who are trying to conceive and pregnant do struggle to meet all their micronutrient targets every single day, right? There's actually there's actually clinical evidence that that is the case. So supplements help fill the gaps because I want to have a croissant sometimes, you know? So there's that gap filling. And then the third aspect is really where egg quality comes in. And that's where we are trying to achieve some kind of therapeutic target that would be really difficult, if not impossible to do through diet alone. And that's where supplements can target things. Yes, absolutely egg quality, which becomes more of a concern, you know, with increasing age, maybe, you know, certain health conditions like endo. going through IVF. So you've got that, obviously additional pressure to produce some really good eggs because you're paying for it, among other things, desire for a family, but also money. And that third aspect is where all those supplements for like egg quality and sperm quality and that come in, because you got to meet those other things too, right? So that applies, but then you get to that targeted bit. And when it comes to diet versus supplement there, it's really about what can we achieve through diet? And then when we look at the evidence, what is the evidence suggesting is a therapeutic target for a particular nutrient that would be incredibly difficult to achieve through our diet? So a really simple example would be our omega-3s that Steph was mentioning are, a sort of foundational aspect of a fertility diet. So omega-3 fatty acids are essential fatty acids, which means our body can't make them. So we do need to get them from some dietary source. Now, really the only dietary source of omega-3 fatty acids, the two that we need, EPA and DHA, it's really just oily fish, all right? You can try and do it with a chia seed. You're going to be eating so many chia seeds.
You might be counting.
Yeah, you actually will probably choke on the chia seeds and die because they will swell and absorb your entire digestive tract. You will become a seed. It will grow out of you in, what's that? It's like the last
sprout.
I'm like thinking of like The Last of Us. It's like sprouting out of my mouth. Anyway. Like chia.
Not the mega chia plant.
Mega chia fungus thing. If you do not wish to have chia seed babies, but you would like to have an actual baby, then I would definitely, you're going to have to look at your omega-3 intake. Now, for a lot of people, some people are allergic to seafood, some people don't like seafood. It's only very specific species of fish that have those omega-3s. So a supplement there is going to help you achieve a therapeutic target that you absolutely could not get through your diet. And then you have other egg quality supplements and nutrients. So I think a really well-known one is coenzyme Q10. I think most people who are in any way looking into supplements for egg quality are going to come across that one. Now, when we look at research for coenzyme Q10, like a therapeutic dosage of coenzyme Q10 is like 300 milligrams. That is 120 100-gram cans of sardines, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot, right? Or it's like how many kilos of salmon?
39 kilos of salmon.
39 kilos of salmon, right? And you want to be taking that every day.
Wow.
Right? So you just can't achieve that therapeutic target through your diet. So when it comes to diet versus supplements, absolutely. Yeah, we want you to have that foundation, healthy diet. It is really essential, right? That's where all your baseline nutrition comes from. But when you're trying to achieve a specific target, then supplements might be involved. But like Steph said earlier, we don't want you taking supplements forever. So it's good to understand the difference and the roles that they play. Yeah.
I'll just add to that as well. Probably the fourth case where supplements come into play that people forget about is deficiency.
Oh, yes.
So
absolutely.
So many people iron deficient. So many people
vitamin
D. 1 in 4 in Australia. It's winter, Sydney, Melbourne and South, you're much more likely. And all those things now, we used to say, it's just an optimizing before pregnancy thing. But now just came back from a massive international conference and they're all saying all these things affect embryo quality. If you are going into into IVF, very iron deficient, it's affecting the embryo quality. And so corrective supplementation is another thing. And of course, it doesn't have a forever timestamp on it either, but that's another role that it plays. So yeah, I usually tell people there's essential and there's nice to have. You've got your prenatal, you've got your omega-3s are probably going to be essential for most people, and you've got your corrective supplements. Your vitamin D deficient, that needs to lift. Let's give you the amount that needs to lift. Your iron sucks, that needs to lift. You don't eat dairy because, I don't know, you don't like milk. Can't be me, but you don't like it, cool. I'm not going to make you eat it. That's fine. You don't really have almond milk. You drink your coffee black. Also couldn't be me, but that's fine. You're probably going to need a little bit of a calcium boost as well. Great. We've got all those things now. Now here's your nice to haves. You've had 3 rounds of IVF and there's embryologists saying your egg quality and sperm quality could be better. Cool. Now let's consider your 300 milligrams CoQ10, you're this, you're that. You don't have to do that because you've already got all this going on. But, by the time I tell people, I see people, which I say to them when I do their supplement plans, I'm like, do you want the kitchen sink plan? And they're like, yeah. They're like,
actually, I've started saying that too.
I'm like, do you want the kitchen sink plan? They're like, what does that mean? I'm like, you want everything but the kitchen sink? They're like, yeah. I'm just like, okay, that's fine. I'm like, I'll stage it out for you so you understand what's what and what the level of evidence is for each of these things and how it relates to you. And I'll rank them. Like, how good do I think
it's
this
so
is?
funny because I rank them too, and I do like a little pyramid.
See, we don't talk about these things.
I'm like, yeah, there's like a top tier scale of evidence, and then sure, your friend's taken this thing, it's at the bottom.
Yeah,
that's okay, but
100%. Yeah. And so like no supplement is going to give you calories. No supplement is going to give you carbs and fat. And I mean, there are supplements that give you protein, but that is not a diet of, you know, otherwise you just go to the hospital, get an NG tube and be done with it. Like we'd all just not eat food. But last I checked, that's quite sad. So like we still need to eat food for their macronutrients, for their micronutrients, but there are just some things either from pre-pregnancy to protect the health of the pregnancy or from a fertility preconception optimization viewpoint is advantageous to have that sit on top of the diet.
The other thing I was going to say to finish off that supplement discussion is that I think the really big problem I see is that everyone starts from that nice to have section.
Correct.
And no one does all the other stuff, and then they wonder why it's maybe not working out so well.
And overwhelmed.
And then they feel really overwhelmed. And they're so overwhelmed they're taking 15 things, but they're all in the nice to have random category. And
Amazon find.
Yeah, Reddit. Like,
or not the Reddit.
Not the Reddits. But, you know, I mean, it's all, but they're all in that nice to have category. They're not looking at those bridging gaps, addressing deficiencies, critical health advice, you know, must do first. And those things aren't as sexy and they don't have as many Reddit threads, but they're actually really important.
100%.
Thanks for reiterating that because, that was 100% me. I'm like, I read it starts with the egg. I had my 15 supplements. I'm like, let's go. Like, what's another one? This can't hurt. I think I got up to 19 I was taking per day at one stage. And I mean, that got me literally nowhere. So thank you. Speaking about supplements, you both created Arxi from years of clinical experience, and I think that you have put something together that is incredibly unique. So what was it about, like what were you seeing as a gap in the market with what was available, and then how did you use a lot of really science-backed and evidence-based information to come up with what you have?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to talk about it. So Monique and I obviously connected early on in her career and also in mine. And we just kind of stayed in touch and we would send each other DMs of crazy Instagram advice we would see and just rant about it really. And that started to extend to, you know, just talking about tricky client cases or, you know, we really both shared this idea that, you know, a lot of what was out there wasn't helping us in our clinical practice and therefore it wasn't helping our clients. And the things that were helping were inaccessible. So you needed a practitioner prescription or difficult to achieve either cost or capsule burden. So by capsule burden, like what you just said, taking 19 different things, right? Rattle when you walk, no room for breakfast, more capsules than food, etc. And like as nutrition professionals, that's not what we want for people. We want them to be able to eat their breakfast and, you know, have room for breakfast and have a side of capsules, not the other way around. And so what I was finding and what we were both finding was that we were having to prescribe a certain lineup of supplements for those clients who were preparing for conception, perhaps over 35, perhaps had protracted fertility journeys. And we knew that the science was there for each of these things, but they're all separate. They're all separate. And then by the time you laid it all out, it was like 7 to 10 capsules. And you're just like, that's on top of a prenatal. That's on top of omega-3. And people coming back and being like, Steph, I get it. I understand all the science. You explained it really well. It's a lot. And I don't know when this is ending. And I have to buy it every month. And it's just so many capsules. Like, I'll do it, but I am just finding it a little hard. And I was like, no doubt. Like, I felt bad for even having to write that plan for you, but I don't have an alternative. And so that's pretty much where our first product, OvaGold, came from, was that we knew there had to be a better way of combining the things that we're already recommending into one product to reduce the cost and the capsule burden for people and just make it easier to add to their prenatal supplement lineup without doubling up, because that was our other problem, was that a lot of formulations that were getting released meant that we then had to pull back in something else. It made it very hard for people to integrate into their routine seamlessly because there was so much doubling up. So, that was really where it came from. And I think it won't be the only product we'll release, but it was the first one because I just felt like, my God, like this is just such a need and it's really annoying, not only as a practitioner, but I can only imagine for the end user as well.
Yeah. I mean, certainly I definitely have end user experience with that. I've created my family in sort of my mid-30s. So I was definitely like target market for supplements and trying everything. And, you know, I think when you are just buying supplements willy-nilly off recommendations that you find, you're not, I guess you may not approach supplements the same way, but for myself and Stefanie, when we're in clinic and people are coming to us with supplements or we're prescribing things, we're maths girlies at heart. We're sitting there and we're adding up all the things that you're taking and realizing that, wow, there is a lot of overlap between these. Or wouldn't it be great if you could get all of this from this thing but not have that and then add this in?
Oh, my God.
And like, you know, we were thinking about that, and so many of our discussions just started going around with that. And I know that it's almost like, I feel like once you go down the path of having maybe an extended journey to conception, that you almost feel better or expect to take like 10 or 15 capsules. Like that's going to be like, certainly particularly when I was going through IVF quite a while ago now, like I was like, yes, the more that I take and the more that I ingest, certainly I will achieve whatever. But it's so unsustainable. And yeah, like you don't know when it's going to end. And so, yeah, we kind of wanted to turn that on its head a bit and go, actually, there is a simpler way. And we sort of want to get rid of that expectation that to, you know, achieve a really amazing plan, you don't have to put yourself through that. And we know it's possible. Like we've been working out plans like this for combined over years, 10 years probably between us of mathsing the maths on all of these different things. And so we knew it was possible. Turned out it is quite difficult to formulate, but yeah, really hard. I mean, definitely on the actual formulation, like putting it inside a physical capsule is tricky, but we knew it could be done. And yeah, there really wasn't that kind of product in that for that exact thing. There's lots of different products, but they're not for that exact thing. Yeah.
Like if you go to the pharmacy and you rock up and you look at CoQ10, it doesn't say reproductive health on the front. Yes. It says for heart health and for, you know, it's not made in with the person who is trying to conceive or freezing their eggs proactively because they just found out they have a low AMH and they want to do something to help themselves get ready for that. And like there's nothing for them on the shelf besides the prenatal, which always has the freaking baby bump on the front and the baby on the front, which is just, a whole different thing. But we wanted to create something that was for that exact person, that wasn't about the health of the baby. It's actually about you rather than the health of the baby. That's the prenatal's job. What OvaGold does is it complements that. And so, just to point out, it's only 2 capsules a day, which replaces on average 7 to 10 for most people. And it's all in one product. You don't have to think about the formula doubling up with your prenatal. There are no crossover ingredients that are significant. And it's a synergistic blend of antioxidants and the most kind of hotly researched new nutrient, nicotinamide riboside, which is really about mitochondrial support. We're starting to understand, after I just came back from this conference in Paris, that you know, the mitochondria and the antioxidant defenses are the 2 things that start to become dysfunctional as the eggs get older. And I suspect that in another 10 years' time, we'll find out that it's for the sperm too. But for now, we're starting to understand that component is what we should be targeting. And whether we do that in the media of the IVF in terms of where we culture the embryos, that's one hypothesis, or whether we supplement it in the person to try and get the levels up in those egg cells so they have enough energy to go through the steps of fertilization and embryo development. That's what they're working on. But we just get so frustrated. There is such a lag between the research and implementation into real people's lives. And like I make it my mission to really go and look at all the science, and if it's safe enough, bring it to the public as quickly as possible, because in 10 years' time that it takes to go from research to translation, all those people miss out. And I'm just like, that's so unfair. We can't have that.
Thank you. I'm pretty gutted this wasn't available like 7, 8 years ago.
I'm so sorry about that.
You should be. That would have helped me a lot. Thanks. But thank you for sharing, because it's basically 5 supplements in one, isn't it? So 5 egg quality supplements that you just get to throw into 2 capsules a day, and that is all you need to worry about. So a dream. I want to finish by asking, maybe Mon, you're a better person to ask this question to, but if you could go back to that Monique of 7, 8 years ago that was struggling to build her family, and knowing all that you know now, what would you go back and tell her? And perhaps that will help anyone else who is in the same place.
Yeah, it's funny actually, because I do think about this reasonably often, because I mean, I can't help it. Like, I do meet a lot of clients who remind me of me. And so it's kind of a blessing, I guess, in that I get to actually do this in real life and tell people the things that I wish that I could have told myself. And I think with me, particularly because I had so many issues around ovulation, but then also started worrying about my egg quality, because I was sort of, again, having my family in my mid-30s, which is when you do start to become more concerned about that. I think the first thing I would have told myself is that actually I could have taken a little bit more time and it would have been okay. I think we do start to feel like every single menstrual cycle is worth 20 menstrual cycles, and we should never ever waste one, and we must try and like capture every ovulation and try and conceive. So actually telling myself that it's okay to miss a cycle or wait around or do this, it's going to be okay. And actually research indicates that really will be okay if you delay something by a month or 2 months, or just sort your life out. That's the first thing. The second thing, and yes, it would have been very helpful if OvaGold had existed at the time, would have been to just like pick a couple of things and stick with them, because it's not about perfection. It's actually because eggs and sperm do take so long to mature, even sperm are going to take, 3 months or so to actually go from beginning to ready to go. Consistency is actually a really important aspect of fertility nutrition. And the thing is, when you're so frazzled and you're trying to conceive and you're desperate, you're doing all the things, and honestly, you're doing a shit job of all of them, because you're doing them for about 10 days and then going, this is terrible. I can't stand on my head for 15 minutes a day. I don't have to. Yeah, maybe she can. Maybe I can now because I'm a Pilates queen. Who knows? But definitely couldn't at the time, and don't recommend doing if you are already pregnant. But yeah, I would be more about taking a breather, doing things consistently, and realizing that applying flexibility might actually help me to go further and not hold me back. Actually, that's a good way to sum it up, that actually having that, I guess, developing more routine, and not in like this rigid way, but just going, all I have to do today is sort of do these 3 things. It's fine. It's streamlined. I don't actually need to listen to all this noise. I don't need to start doing brand new things every second week. And I need to just, I guess, have a little bit more trust and faith in my body and eat the croissant. Actually, that's something I would have liked to have told myself maybe, going back now, how long?
Probably 10 plus years.
Yeah, 10 plus years. Yeah, I didn't have a lot of croissants in my life at that time. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Now, if anyone who is listening wants to learn more about Arxi and OvaGold, or to connect with the two of you, what is the best way to do that? Steph, do you want to let us know?
Yeah, so to come and hang out on all things fertility nutrition with our practice, it's _Dietologist. And for Arxi, it's from.arxi, spelled ARXI. It's Greek for start, Arxi. So it makes it trademarkable, people, really. That is the reason. People are like, why did you choose such a strange name? That's the reason, but there is some story behind it. So yeah, from.arxi on socials and FromArxi.com for our website. Yeah. Do you want to share your?
And yeah, my handle as well. I was like starting to go down this whole like legal spiral in my mind. Anyway, but yeah, you can find me at Monique Cormack Nutrition, which is all just one word. Or you can just, I feel like if you just Google Monique Cormack, it's going to come up. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here today, girls.
Thanks so much for having us, Jen.
Thank you so much for listening right to the end of this episode. And as mentioned, if you want to connect with Monique or Steph or learn more about Arxi and OvaGold, all the links are in the show notes. And a reminder, if you want to try Arxi for yourself, you can get $10 off your first order by adding in the code GEN10 at checkout. Now, next week on the podcast, we are going to be talking about walking that fine line between educating yourself when you are struggling to conceive and going deep down the rabbit hole of overwhelm and too much information. And how do you find that balance? So I can't wait to have you back next week. But until then, I am sending you all my wishes as you continue your own journey to fertility.
A few days of the year, I open the doors to the In Your Element Fertility Yoga program. This is the most comprehensive mind-body fertility program you will find anywhere. Studies show us that the stress of infertility can be compared to receiving a diagnosis of a terminal illness. And while doctors are there to support your body from a medical perspective, it's not their job to help alleviate and manage your stress levels. So how can you get through the anxiety of trying to conceive in a way that feels calmer and easier? I designed the Element program to help support your fertility in 3 important ways. To help reduce your cortisol levels, helping you regulate your nervous system, to increase circulation and blood flow while releasing physical tension from your body, and to reconnect you back to yourself, to find that sense of peace and knowing that you are capable and in control. On top of this, we run weekly live classes, ongoing workshops with fertility experts such as doctors, nutritionists, and therapists. You'll receive personalized programs and be surrounded by a community of women who get it. This is a month-to-month program, so you can jump in today and decide if it's right for you. Doors are open for just a few days or until places are full, and I can't wait to see you on the inside.